Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum. I just wanted to do a quick clip on women working. Should women work or not? Okay, I want to unpack this uh, topic a little bit from the perspective of the traditional worldview where men are breadwinners and women are homemakers. And so obviously it sounds like from the offset I'm going to say women shouldn't work, but that's not what I am advocating necessarily. Okay, I'm going to try to bring about or paint for you a nuanced picture on the issue. Now, I know there are people like, for example, the Taliban that are being accused of not wanting women to receive education and work, and Daniel Hakikacho, for example, who advocates against women working and women receiving a tertiary education at universities. It seems to be that he's saying that it's pointless, okay? Because look, if a woman's going to be a wife and a mother anyway, so then what's the point of that? And also that on these campuses there's a lot of negative influences that are contrary to the dictates of Islam. And that is kind of the argument. That's one argument, okay? Then there's another argument out there that says, well, look at the mother of the faithful, Khadija, alayha salam, that she was in fact, very educated. She was a businesswoman, she was rich, and all of these types of things. And so, how can we say that women shouldn't work, for example? Okay, so there's all these sort of arguments out there. But the one thing that people don't often look at is the basics of economics. Right, so I want to break this down and I want to show how women working and flooding the job market does present a crisis for the functioning of traditional societies and traditional marriages on the one hand, and on the other hand, it also results in a shift in expectations. So let's just present it. There are solutions on either end. Okay. So the first problem is the problem of economy. Okay, the economy is run off of limited resources. This is the basic principle of economics. There are limited resources, and the goal of economics is to see how best to distribute these limited resources across the population, okay, and who gets what, basically. And obviously in the free market system, this is determined by demand and supply. Now, if there are limited resources, and in this case, limited jobs, okay, and there is a surplus of labor, then the amount of money each individual will fetch from the job will be less. But if there is a reduction in labor, meaning the amount of jobs are more abundant than the labor that exists or equal to the labor that exists, then each person working will fetch more money. Okay, so this is according to the laws of demand and supply. These are facts. Okay, so to illustrate this for those people who don't yet understand what I'm saying, if, for example, there are 5 jobs, okay, and 3 workers, then the companies who have these 5 jobs need to up their bidding to entice the 3 workers, okay, to take the job with them. Okay, so for example, I have a company that supermarket, okay, and there are 5 other companies like my company and we each have one position open, but there are only 3 people, I will have to outbid the other supermarkets by giving the best possible package I can give so that I can entice an employee to come with me and not to go with someone else, because now the employee has options. But if there are these 5 jobs, okay, but there are 10 people available to work these jobs, well, then I don't have to try to increase the benefits of my package or the salary or anything, because I'm guaranteed to get an employee from the 10. In fact, if I have an employee and he says to me, you know what, I cannot accept this low wages because I have a wife and children and a family, I will say, oh, no problem, right? Someone else will get this job then. If you are not willing to accept this low salary, there's someone else who will take this job, and I may even hire his wife, since his wife is also on the market for the job, okay? But now the problem is, if I hire his wife, okay, his wife may be earning money, but she will still expect him to maintain her, even though she has now taken his job. Just by being on the market, she has taken his job because she's available to work, right? And she will accept less money because women generally have not traditionally been expected to be breadwinners, and so often they are willing to work for much less because they do see their money as extra normally, and also because they're more agreeable. They tend to be more willing to do more for less. And so that now leaves the man unemployed, but the man is still traditionally expected to be the breadwinner in the traditional society. And the woman also then, because of hypergamy, starts to see this man as not being worth her status. Okay, there's a status thing. Okay, there's money goes with status in many societies, and so if she's earning money and he's not, well, guess what? He's not seen as being doing his job, and therefore she doesn't see him as a viable partner anymore. So this is kind of the dilemma on the one end. Okay, the issue of economics. When women work, the price of labor drops. The price of labor drops. Men can no longer earn as much money as they used to when they were designated breadwinners, but they are still designated breadwinners. Okay, although women do earn their own money. And so the nature of women hasn't changed, and they still are hypergamous, and they still want the best possible spouse they can secure, and that often includes the socio-economic status of the male. So that is the one problem, okay? Now the other problem is that traditional society has a reluctance to adapt, okay? So we still generally in the world, even in the Western world, we still, when it comes to families and homes, we still view women's money as being non-essential. So when men will invest their money on property and houses and their children's future and education, etc., women tend to blow their money on shoes and bags and makeup and fun. And that's a generalization, but it's a generalization that is true. Anyone who knows anything about the world would tell you that. It's usually only women who are older, meaning when they reach their 40s and 50s, who start thinking about their future and the fact that they would have to retire one day and would need a place to live. But before that, they don't think about that. Whereas men, especially married men, they, from the beginning, from the moment they work, that's all they think about. So it is a very different psychology that men have, especially married men, okay? So the problem, is that on the one hand, when women earn, their money doesn't count for anything, still as if they are non-earners, okay? Or as if their money is useless, although the amount may be the same as what their husbands earn. So there's that problem. So the unwillingness for traditional societies to adapt, to say that, yeah, listen, if you're a woman and you are working, that makes you a breadwinner. So the gendered roles, okay, is at odds with the modern situation where women work and receive an education. And that is why traditional people who have a traditional outlook, like Daniel Hakikacho or the Taliban, would say that, look, there's no point in women working and there's no point in women receiving tertiary education, because anyway, men are designated to be the breadwinners. And if they are designated to be the breadwinners, why don't you let them be the breadwinners and have women be the homemakers, have them be at home with their children to raise their children, etc. And so therefore women should not be encouraged to receive a tertiary education. And I think that's kind of where that's coming from. And I'm not saying that doesn't work, okay? In a broad sense, where societies do operate like that, or have operated like that in the past, I don't see any societies that still operate like that. I don't think there are any societies that operate like that really anymore. But where societies have operated like that, it has obviously worked, okay? But what is the way forward? Is the way forward to say to women, look, don't get educated. You are anyway just going to fall pregnant and have kids and stay at home, so what's the use? Or is it to say that, look, you can become educated, you can have a job, but then you are equally responsible as a breadwinner, okay, for your family. And I advocate the latter. I don't think we can walk back the fact that women work and make them stay home. I don't think we can walk back the things that we've already come to at this point. And so instead of walking it back, I think we should not discriminate against women being educated and working, but then holding them equally liable for maintenance of the family that they are responsible for. So in other words, women have to be as responsible as men have been in the past regarding their money. Okay, this also obviously doesn't solve the other problem, which is human nature, which is the fact that women have always looked for men to protect them and look after them, etc. And that is their natural instinct to do that, and that they will look for men who are equal to and or above them in social status, a lot of which has to do with money and careers. So that doesn't solve that problem. Okay, what is the actual solution? What is the best way forward? Regarding that, I believe that it is to see the maintenance of oneself as coming from Allah, meaning that it doesn't matter in whose hand the money is, whether it is in the hand of the woman or the hand of the man or the hands of the tribe in some cases, right? But that all provisions come from Allah, comes from God, okay? And that people are just the medium or the means through which that is accomplished. And I think if we start seeing wealth in that way, men will not be emasculated for not having as much wealth as they once had in the past, because now they share the job market with women. And also women should not see the money that they have as their own, as belonging to them. They should see it as belonging to the needs of the family that they should fulfill with their money. And I do think there's a lot of women, in fact, who do see it that way. It's only these women who are taught a skewed version of law, where they are told that a woman's money is her own, and no one has any right to her money, which is in fact false. Okay, it is false at a very fundamental level, because no money is your own, in other words, what I'm saying. And those who don't have always will have a right over those who have. And I think that is more the fundamental ethos within the law, which is why we have sadaqah and zakah and this constant exhortation to spending of your wealth, on your family and those in need, etc., etc. So I think these things should be applied equally across the board to both men and women, and that wealth should be seen as a provision put in the hand of a person as a test to see how that person will best use that in the service of society, their families and their societies. And so I leave you with that, and I think that's probably the way forward. And of course, Allah knows best.